What's up, everybody? This is Chris Sarai bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of all your vehicles. On today's show, we're going to check out a very serious cyber attack that happened across the USA at a lot of dealerships. We're also going to head out to LA and check out a group of 50 or 60 people that decided they needed some automotive parts immediately, and they decided that they didn't have to pay. And last but not least, we're going to talk about cars, new cars in this new age, and how much people are spending on these new cars. So, first up, let's jump in. We're going to check out a serious cyber attack that happened to a company that is widely used at most dealerships around the world. Just most dealerships use this company. It's called CDK Global. It used to be called ADP. But they had a serious cyber attack a couple of days ago. So let's check out a little story about that real quick, okay?
Another cyber attack, this time on CDK Global, the software used by thousands of auto dealerships.
It's Michigan, it's the entire country, about 15,000 dealers they service. So, this is a big outage in our industry, and hopefully it'll be rectified soon.
Todd Zott is president of the Detroit Auto Dealers Association. He says CDK notified clients early this morning.
They've shut us down from being able to access it while they investigate actually what happened.
They've acted swiftly. They've taken all systems offline. To me, it has all the looks and feel of a ransomware event.
Cybersecurity expert David Darajotis says hackers are relentless.
We're dependent on technology. And if there's any fail point along the whole digital supply chain, it has ripple effects. That's what we're seeing with this exact example here.
Just last month, a ransomware attack at Ascension Health created chaos at their hospitals.
When you're dependent on a third party, on a vendor, on any type of software to provide a critical aspect of your business, if it's interacting with clients, if it's being able to access patient health records, if it's being able to transact and handle payments, if any of those things go down, it creates a significant business interruption loss. So it's so important for every organization to pre-plan, to prepare for when these things do happen, because ultimately they do happen at some point.
That point is right now for CDK, leaving dealerships unable to finalize sales or register vehicles with the Secretary of State.
The other system that's down is what they call the CBR system, which is the system we use to register vehicles with the state of Michigan, because CDK actually runs that system.
Meaning paperwork will be delayed, but Zott says they're still able to do business.
We can still help you pick out a car. You can still do a test drive. We can do an oil change. We can maintain your car, fix your car. That's not a problem.
CDK telling Fox 2 they are actively investigating a cyber incident and are working diligently to get everything up and running as quickly as possible. They say they are confident the CDK phones, DMs, and digital retail have been restored. In Southfield, Amy Lang, Fox 2 News.
All right, so just a little backstory. CDK Global, which is a software management system that most dealerships use, specifically in their service departments. In service departments, they use them to write up repair orders, order parts, finalize the bills for the customers. CDK is a major system. It used to be called ADP. It changed over to CDK, I want to say, back in like 2014, 2015. I was a part of that. Really, I took a job where I was going around to dealerships, changing their systems over from the ADP to CDK Global. So I'm very, very aware of how CDK Global works and what it's about. And I'm very aware how much it is important to dealerships. It's not only used in their service department and their sales department, they also use it in payroll. It's used to order supplies. So any time that a system like that is interrupted, it's going to cause major problems. Like they said, they're still doing oil changes, still selling cars, but not being able to finalize the cars And even with the oil change situations, they're not being able to write up the repair orders correctly with, accurate numbers. And they're not able to, they could probably, in some cases, they can give you a receipt, but they can't give you a printout of what was done to your vehicle at that time. They're just going to have to write it like we used to do in the Stone Age. And my biggest thing is that I'm into the cybersecurity thing because of my desire to own a EV auto dealership, and of course for the dealership that I'm running now. But I think that specifically, even mostly with automotive dealerships, they're going to have to start to amp up their cybersecurity most definitely. It's never been a concrete system. They've never had to. The automotive industry is not an industry that you would see a lot of cyber attacks on. You did see a lot of cyber attacks on automotive vehicles, which prompted a whole bunch of recalls, changing the software in vehicles like the Cherokee, because they were showing signs of people being able to take them over when they're not in the vehicle. So it did change that situation. But with the CDK situation, it's just a major disruption. It's got to be. They said about 15,000. I think it's way more dealerships use CDK. It's just one of the most user-friendly, accessible, and priced correctly software systems that dealerships use. So it's all over the place. So shout out to the people who were able, because we did get a story that it has been up and running again, but we do understand that it's going to be a situation where a lot of people are going to need to amp up their cybersecurity. With the way the world is going and the desire for everything to be electricated and computer ran and all this kind of fancy stuff, you're going to get more and more people, cyber attacks, hackers. They're being more active, with more ability to disrupt more things. They're being more active, and the automotive industry is not immune, as we can see. So let us move on. Next up, we're going to head out to LA. And let's face it, LA, of course, I live in California. I live in the Central Coast of California, and knock on some wood, but we haven't been seeing the problems that a place like San Francisco or Los Angeles have been seeing. We don't deal with blippers a lot. We don't deal with a lot of crime, and I want to say it's because of our police force here, their desire to keep certain things away from the area I live. There's no strip clubs here. Bummer. Things like that. There's not even a lot of the clubs that I used to work at back in the day, they're not here anymore. They've taken out the little clubs that they thought were ratchet or ghetto or anything like that. All those clubs are gone. So here where I live, we don't see as much of this horrible situation that these other cities and states are dealing with the crime. And in this situation out in LA, looks like a nice group of people, criminals as it were, decided that they were going to raid an AutoZone. So let's check it out.
Police in South LA are looking for more suspects in a raid at an auto parts store. Dozens of people ransacked the place, but authorities did manage to catch one. KTLA's Gene Kang at the scene this morning with the latest. Gene, good morning.
People.
Good morning, Megan. There are many moving parts, you could say, in this story. Detectives just left the scene. They were here for hours. They were fingerprinting and, of course, gathering other evidence. There is security video that they were looking at to try and identify who those dozens of people were accused of being in that mob and then also forcing their way into this AutoZone store in South Los Angeles. Just a lot of devastation that the employees have to clean up this morning. Watch this.
First off, where are the police? This had to take some time. Where are the police? This had to take some decent amount of time. Is this in just a really bad neighborhood that the police don't go to? This doesn't...
So much chaos. Police report about 50 people broke into the store earlier this morning. They ransacked the place, causing mayhem, accused of stealing auto parts and then taking off. By the time officers arrived, the large group had scattered, making it very difficult to apprehend anyone on the spot. Then there's this video. Around 3:50 a.m., LAPD received 911 calls about a street takeover very close by. That was Century Boulevard and Hoover Street here in South Los Angeles. Officers quickly called for backup as the situation escalated. Now, we don't have video of the next incident, but officers tell us one driver refused to stop for police, leading to a brief but intense pursuit. CHP got involved at one point. The pursuit ended up in El Segundo, where it was by Pepper Street and Sycamore Avenue. One suspect was finally arrested. And then there's this new video. Police are dusting the front door of the AutoZone for fingerprints while they try to identify people by looking over their surveillance video of that burglary. We spoke to a former employee who says he saw the street takeover and dozens of people snatch whatever they possibly could from the store, possibly thousands of dollars in merchandise, plus residents nearby who say it's unsafe here with criminal activity on the rise.
But this time it was more hectic. You know, they were taking over there, like, man, like,
all right,
I
stop.
couldn't exactly
Hold
what they're
on,
saying,
hold
but I just seen a whole bunch of people.
This dude was one. Okay. Bruh, there was just a street takeover robbery at the AutoZone. Cuz has a CarQuest hat on. Which, now, you think you see a CarQuest hat on the person, you think they probably work at a dealership or auto shop. But that says, what it say? Quality CarQuest, quality parts on it? Bruh. Did one of your homies get you a hat, bruh? Did you get a free hat this morning? Come on.
Started rushing in there and just started breaking in and taking a whole bunch of stuff.
He was there.
It was just crazy.
And the street takeover right here is ridiculous, man. Like every 2 days, it's an accident right here.
But this my AutoZone. This my hood. This my area. I live in this area, so I frequent this AutoZone.
And what goes through your head when you hear it's ransacked and there's a large mob?
Man, it's just crazy. It seems like it's just getting worse.
Well, as you see, there are many cars in the parking lot of this AutoZone, and these are all store employees. Now, they cannot go on camera, but they did tell me that they were terrified when that happened. Detectives now looking into who that huge group was. There are many people from other AutoZone stores coming in, including district and regional managers. But that is the very latest here from the scene in South Los Angeles. I'm Gene Kang, and I'm going to send it back to you in the studio for now.
Do you like having a P.O. box but are tired of...
Okay, all right, I'm sorry. When I first saw that story, my first thought was, what is they going to do with them parts? But, you know, I would beg to say that a majority of those folks in those hoodies probably don't have cars. Why? I'm not sure I understand what a street takeover is. I guess that means that a whole bunch of kids get together and so many of them that they take over a street, and I guess that means that cops can't stop them. When does this world get so soft, man? I mean, what are we doing? There's no way that had to take at least an hour. How long is the police response time in LA? No one called. It must be in a really bad neighborhood for it to go down like that. But it just, you know, this lax approach on crime that the new world has adopted is killing us. This desire to be so inclusive of everybody, including criminals, and renaming them, not renaming them to things that are softer, and being soft on them, and not arresting people for the small thing. When I was a criminal, they arrested me for everything. When I was a criminal, I went to jail for the littlest stuff. And now you can run up in the AutoZone and mob it and take everything, even though you ain't got a car and you ain't got no way to sell the stuff unless you're going to put it on eBay, which would be another way for them to find that you was in there and put your ass in jail. It just amazes me how lackluster the effort is to stop criminals has been. And it's just part of the whole inclusive thing on the softness on the world that we're in. We just don't have. Back in the day, people would be ashamed to be robbing like that. It would be shameful. There was a little girl up in there that I saw. She had on a tank top and was walking out that thing with on her phone. Her mama gonna see this. There's no shame in the world anymore. Nobody. It's just crazy that something like that can happen, and they can only catch one person. Did you see? And we got video of it. Hoodies and masks on. People are just skirting the law left and right, and I'm pissed off because it wasn't happening like that when I was a kid and when I was, committing crimes and being a bad guy. Man. But I digress, man. It's just crazy. I worked in the AutoZone before. It's I just keep thinking about how all they just went in there to destroy it. There's no purpose. Wasn't running in there to get them a battery for the car, a Duralast or something. No, they were in there for the fun of it. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of cats in there that probably do on the side oil changes, so they've got them some oil and some oil filters. Maybe they can make a couple dollars on the street, doing oil changes for the boppers. But this world has just taken such a soft stance on crime that it's polluting everything. It's polluting everything. All right, let's move on. Last but not least, and of course, we're going to start extending the show a little bit longer. We still only do our show for roughly about 20-30 minutes. We run through 2 or 3 top stories, but we're going to start extending the show longer, start going live, bringing in guests, all that fancy stuff. So just bear with us. We're just starting out. We want to get our bearings. We're going to really get this going. We're going to really help you with getting your cars. The automotive company is up and running, so if you guys need a car, give us a call. Let's jump into this next story. We'll talk more about that after, okay? So, next story. CNBC did a study, and they were talking about car payments and how car payments have skyrocketed over the last couple of years. What's the reason? COVID, the economy, inflation.
Car payments have reached record highs in recent years, and Americans are feeling the pinch. The average payment on a new vehicle rose 40% between April 2019 and April 2024.
Some people will look at this and they will say, are you kidding me? That's basically a house payment for a lot of people.
We always had this idea that a new vehicle was something that was attainable for every American. Well, clearly we've moved away from that premise.
Blame it on high interest rates and high vehicle prices caused by pandemic-era shortages. The good news, payments have dropped a bit and are expected to fall further.
We've reached a peak, we've turned a corner, however you want to say it. The affordability issue is going to get better.
The relief may only be short-lived.
It'll get better, but it's going to get better on worse cars. It's going to get better on cars that definitely don't have the research and development. There's going to be a lot of really cheap EV cars coming out. So just watch out for the quality of these vehicles that you're buying.
Longer term, industry insiders have serious questions about the direction the auto market is headed in. Vehicles were growing more expensive prior to the pandemic, as automakers shifted away from pumping out cars for the mainstream toward a strategy of selling fewer, pricier vehicles that pulled in more profits. Many in the industry say that might be here to stay, meaning a lot of ordinary Americans will be locked out. Here are a few numbers that illustrate how tough it has become. Just 10 years ago, car payments were nearly half of what they are today. The average is $760 a month right now, but quite a few customers pay more than that. A near record number are paying over $1,000 a month and have been for 4 straight quarters.
The idea of you're going to pay, $700-800 a month for the next 6 years, I mean, that's just, it just sounds crazy for a depreciating asset.
It is.
How many of you have paid over $500 a month for your car? A lot. Probably a lot of you. I have a friend, I think she's paying $620. I have another friend who just bought an Escalade. They're paying $1,200 a month on that Escalade. Y'all tripping.
It's almost like borderline disturbing how acclimated everyone has gotten to the idea that, you know what, I've got 700, I've got 1,000, I've got all these dollar figures that other people will say, hey, that's my rent. Hey, that's my mortgage from 10 years ago.
So payments are high, and it's not just because of inflation. Car payments rose twice as much as overall inflation from 2019 to 2024. 2 things drove this: high prices and high interest rates. High prices hit the used vehicle market first, where dealers can pretty much charge whatever they can get for a car. But soon they made their way into the new car market, which was hit by a severe shortage of new vehicles and parts. As manufacturing shut down around the world during the COVID pandemic, shortages popped up everywhere. First of cars in 2020, then of parts like semiconductors in 2020.
See, and that was a major thing that caused the uprise in the price of used cars. Being that is one of my industries, it affected me as well. And to this day, we still deal with that problem that the used car market prices have skyrocketed as well. And as a car dealer myself, it's upon me to make sure that I get purchased cars at a really good price so I can give them to my customers at a really good price. That's the best thing I could do. Not dealing with MSRP and all of that type of thing. It just depends on where you're getting your vehicles from. If you're getting them direct from the dealer, standardly you can get them better price. And it's crazy that an individual dealer like myself that's not a big entity can get a car from the manufacturer a lot cheaper than a franchisee could. But that's a story for another day. Let's keep going.
2021 and 2022. With supply so tight and demand so high, dealers and automakers didn't need to offer any incentives. Charging at or above MSRP was common. Anyone who bought a car, pretty much at any point in the last 4 years, paid historically high prices.
Those same expensive vehicles, though, live in the segments that today are experiencing the greatest amount of depreciation. So you might have somebody who really scored 2 years ago. They went to a dealership, they got a fantastic vehicle, good price, but now they've come back and they didn't realize that the rest of the market has evolved.
And then, of course, there are interest rates.
Anyone shopping for a new car is going to get a fair amount of sticker shock when they see the price of the car along with that higher interest rate.
The Federal Reserve set its target interest rate at 5.25% to 5.5% in July 2023. That isn't the actual rate someone will pay for a car loan or mortgage, but it does affect the overall cost of borrowing. Today, auto loan rates are just above 7%. In March 2022, before the Fed started raising rates, they were closer to 4%.
This is a significant jump. Not only are people paying more in their for their auto loan, but they're also paying more for the price of the car. So that combined higher prices plus higher loan rates makes car affordability particularly challenging for a lot of people trying to buy a car these days.
In addition, an alarming trend has taken root within a segment of borrowers. Those who decide to get a new car when the one they're driving is worth less than the money they owe on it. Something called negative equity. The average amount on those trade-ins hit an all-time high in the first quarter of 2024. Almost 25% of purchases were made by customers with negative equity, nearly 10% more than just a couple years earlier.
It was always crazy to me when I was first out selling cars, how people really thought the dealership was going to pay off your car and then sell you a car. And then the shock that these people showed when you explained to them that, no, all we're going to do is absorb your loan that you had on your other car and then put it towards your financing and you'll pay it anyway. And then, a lot of people, I've seen people not buy cars just because they didn't know that. They thought that the dealership was going to pay off the loan on their old car. It's crazy.
Rolling that negative equity into a new loan comes with bigger payments at higher interest rates over longer terms. And trade-ins involving negative equity have only gotten more expensive over time.
What makes it worse, though, is you probably got a decent loan 2 or 3 years ago, right? So if you do have negative equity and you roll into the next payment, it's not like you're even getting more favorable terms. Like, unless you get a subvented APR from the automaker, you're really compounding this problem. Because again, at 7-8%, that first month payment, that first year's payments, a lot of that's interest. You're not going to dig yourself out of this hole.
And finally, consumers want fancier cars. And car makers have capitalized on that.
Because structurally the industry has been headed to this direction for many, many years. They've been abandoning many of the lower price points. So it's just all kind of going into the soup to kind of lead vehicle prices to be going up just a little bit.
Good news for the consumer is vehicle prices have come down.
U.S. production is back up. There are more cars on dealer lots, and incentives rose rapidly from mid-2023 to 2024.
You should be able to get a better deal now than you were, say, 12, 18.
But that's because they had so much inventory already. We did a story not too long ago, maybe last week or the week before, about how they have excess inventory. And they can't get rid of the inventory that they have. So now the manufacturers are making more cars, giving them to dealers, and they're putting them on their lot to the point where the dealers have so many cars that they have to lower prices so they get rid of these cars. It's a problem of the manufacturers that they're pushing down onto the dealer. Let's keep going.
Months ago. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel, but the payments that people are locked in on those higher priced vehicles aren't going away anytime soon.
Even if interest rates were to be lowered, there is a 6-month lag. However, in the meantime, dealers and automakers will likely continue to offer incentives that will bring those prices down. But different shoppers are apt to see different results based on their own financial situations or the types or brands of cars they are buying.
And so there are still deals to be had. You just got to do a little bit more shopping, a little bit more homework, to find the manufacturers that really are trying to compete quite aggressively.
Consumers with higher credit scores may be able to secure better loan terms. So if you have excellent credit, you're probably going to do better than that standard 7% new car loan rate.
Over the longer term, larger forces in the auto industry could continue to push prices upward. Just a decade ago, the average transaction price was $32,386, which was itself a record high. As of April 2024, average transaction prices were $48,510. Sticker prices are still rising, as are the prices dealers are paying automakers. Vehicles themselves are not getting cheaper. In addition, the White House raised tariffs on EVs from China to 100% of the sticker price, precisely in order to hold off a flood of cheaper cars from the country. These forces combined lead some in the auto industry to wonder whether volumes will remain lower for the foreseeable future as the market continues to shift towards serving upscale customers and charging upscale prices.
And that's what's going to happen. They're going to literally X out the little man into getting. I mean, it's going to get to the point where the little man can't get a car, and that's why I'm here.
Are we going to get back to that 17 million new vehicle sales that we saw for 5 years in a row from 2014 to 2019, or are interest rates and high prices going to keep the equilibrium level lower than it was previously? So are automakers going to keep getting more profit per vehicle, or are they going to try and gain market share and try and just move as many vehicles as possible?
All right, see, and that's what we're talking about. That's why, literally, okay, I have a couple of licenses myself. Of course, I have a real estate license, and I have a car sales license. I have a dealership license, and I really believe that not only people like of my color, but all people all around the world are being X'd out of opportunities to fulfill the American dream. And one of the American dreams was to own a home, and they priced you out of your home. Another American dream is to own the car of your dreams, and they're pricing you out of that as well. And my thing is that, you know, in all of my companies, you know, we want to make profit, but we want to make sure that whatever we're selling you is at a price that is going to make you smile. Is my whole motto. If the price of the item that I'm selling you, the home, the car, whatever it is, if the price of it makes you smile, then we have won. Okay? Now, how do we do this? We make sure that we buy low, but we don't sell high. We buy low and we sell above low. We make enough profit that we're covering our bases and, you know, making a little money, and we're giving you more of what you're paying for. Because the whole thing is that the automotive industry is giving you cars and they're charging you top dollar for them because you're going to pay it. That's the whole thing. If it wasn't people out there willing to pay these prices wouldn't exist. And it's those select few people that are paying these exorbitant amounts because they can afford it, which is making it harder for everybody else. Now, we can't complain about that because all we got to do is get our money up and then just be like them. But for some of us, we've decided that we want to try our best to help those people that are never going to reach that mark continue to drive and live in homes. But inflation, interest rates, everything has skyrocketed the cost of everything in this world we live in. We've been priced out of everything. Homes, cars, food. Is inflation going to change? I don't think so. Not anytime soon. Something drastic has to happen for these things to change. And we just don't see that drastic thing happening anytime soon. So, what we can expect, though, is that a lot of these EV model cars, the cheap ones over in China that they're trying to stop from coming over, they're going to come over. They'll make their way over here one way or another. The BYDs of cars are going to come over from Mexico. They're going to make their way over here one way or another. And there's going to be affordable cars on the road. There's going to be affordable EVs. And those affordable EVs that are going to be on the road is going to force other automakers to lower their prices, which is all going to be a good thing. So, this would be, if you can, the perfect time to just drive your hoopty until you can't drive it no more. And if you have to buy a car, give me a call. Alright guys, I'm going to get you up out of here. It's your boy Chris C. Pup Surratt. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to start doing live shows. We're going to extend the show. We're going to do more topics. We're going to do all kinds of things. So watch out for that. And I'm out. Peace.